All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to another episode of Knives Monroe versus the podcast. I'm Knives Monroe. How you guys doing? Hopefully you're doing well. I'm here with a dear friend, good buddy of mine, J.R. Molina, who's been on the show. I've lost count, and he's one of my favorite guests to talk to. And J.R., how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I just got done with my morning walk.
Awesome. See, you're already ahead on than I am. Like, just to kind of lay the table out for the listeners. How often do you hear two grown men talk about their struggles when it comes to losing weight, their struggles when it comes to eating, and the mind fuckery that ensues after that fact? Probably not very often. Men aren't necessarily inclined to talk about those things. It's just not. There's no safe space for it. I'll just be honest. So, full disclosure, JR and I text each other privately, and we're just trying to hold each other accountable in this weight loss journey. And it's a variety of factors. It's we're not the 19-year-olds that we once were, so maybe there's that. But also there's a discipline factor, and there's like a quarantine thing. Like we don't have our commute necessarily, and so now's the time to start putting in the effort in. So we're holding each other accountable via text. And he thought it'd be a good idea to come on the podcast and kind of air out what's going on in our minds, and maybe put this full transparency out there so we can help each other, help one another, maybe help a listener that's out there, probably a guy. You don't have to be a guy, but if you're a woman and you can fuck with this, please reach out. That'd be awesome. It would mean a lot to me. But for all the men out there that don't feel comfortable talking about their weight, or like maybe taking their shirt off in a public place, or it goes deeper. It goes way deeper. This conversation is going to be about that. So JR, how about contextually, you tell me where you're at, where you've been, and how you're feeling.
Okay, so as you know, but maybe not the listeners, I've been struggling with my weight for as long as I can remember. Like, I was listening to your podcast, your re-upload, and it was so illuminating because we were just having a conversation, and I was like, wait, Knives said this was old, but I feel like we were just talking about this, and it kind of shows you the cycle that goes on, So like, I remember heading into high school, my freshman year, we had to get like a physical, right, or get our like last shots or whatever, and I weighed myself, and I was 268. And that number stuck in my head. And the doctor also said I have like hypertension. And I was like, shit, like that's scary. So I think that year I dropped about 40 pounds, maybe a little bit more. And if I was disciplined, maybe that would have been the end of it. But by my senior year of high school, I was already up to 270 again. And in 3 months, I dropped 60 pounds, and I'd gotten to the lightest I had ever been that year, 2010. I had gotten down to like 196. And by 2013, I was over 300 pounds. And I'm not sure like what happens, but I dropped the weight again. I got down to 50, which isn't even like a low weight. It was just lower than where I was,
How tall are you, just relative to the listeners, so they can kind of put that together?
Yeah, I'm 5'10".
5'10". I'm 5'10" as well. One of us is probably going to be shorter than the other, because 5'10" is just everybody's fucking 5'10", I feel. But
that's what I was saying. Like everyone's 5'9" or 5'10".
Yeah, it's so
everyone
weird.
I know
For sure. 5'10", and at your most, you were 300 pounds. What year was that?
That was 2013. I remember kind of it. No, it's like weird because I had these like moments where I stepped on the scale. You can't run away from it. Like I remember in 6th grade, we had to do a physical in front of our whole classmates, and I stepped on the scale and I was 208 pounds, and that weight stuck with me.
What grade was this?
6th grade.
6th grade, 208 pounds.
Yeah.
So on this note, like I think it's worth saying this because it's going to be like Shrek. We're going to be peeling the onions back and back. But hold on to where you're at, because I like that you're setting this, and I'll try to do the same. This is very difficult for me to. I know I'm open and honest, but it's very difficult to have these conversations because it fucking hurts. It's painful. I mean, I don't think you can get to 270 pounds, which is the heaviest I've ever been, without being in some sort of pain. And that's what we'll talk about. But I will say, so I grew up with like three, I won't say who they are. Nugget was one of them, but I grew up with three friends in middle school, high school, who to me were the fat guys. They were the fat guys. But I think I can look back and say, man, I think I was always one of the fat guys too. But I just, I would rib them and I'd kind of make fun of them. And so even you just saying that you got to 300 or in sixth grade you were 200, I hear that. And not that I've ever identified or walked around mentally thinking I'm a thin guy. I don't walk around with that. Even when I was at my thinnest, I walked around like I was morbidly obese. I felt that way in my brain. But we'll get into body dysmorphia later. But I hear that and I think, whoa, dude, you were like a fat kid at a very early age. And it's weird because even just saying that, it sounds like I'm opting out. Like I can hear that. I can hear like it sounds like I'm pointing fingers. But when I look back, I mean, I was a chubby guy. My mom would take me to Kmart or Sears or whatever, and we'd husky, like hearing this when she'd shop for me, husky, like it hurt. And so insecurity stems from that at such a young age. So I just want to draw a line in the sand and say, wow, like it still affects me to this day where sometimes I'll look at a video and a photo and I'm like, dude, I'm fucking fat. Like I'm an obese motherfucker. And it's like, how did that happen? Because I don't sometimes feel that way, which could be part of the delusion or like the denial there, perhaps. I don't know how, just to kind of put this exclamation out there, rhetorically speaking, like how do I not even feel that way or know that, like I hear you say that you were 200 in sixth grade, how did you feel when you were in sixth grade? Did you wear that? Like, did you feel like how tall could you have been in sixth grade too? Like, how do we let this happen at such a young age? And I want to say we, because look, from this day forth, I've been a fat guy my entire life. I feel I just was in the closet.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting hearing you say that you always had like a fatter friend, right? And I didn't always have that luxury. And I remember sixth grade, the second fattest kid in the class, he latched on to the number I was at, and then he tried to give me the nickname 208, which was the weight I was at. And fortunately, it didn't like stick on because kids kind of liked me and they didn't want to pick on me. But it kind of like left this like little scar, I guess. But not enough to like ever like lose the weight, especially at that time, because I just enjoyed eating way too much.
Yeah.
But it stuck with me, and since freshman year of high school, I've just been up and down. Like I've been as low as like 29 since my senior year of high school, and I've been as high as maybe like 260 or something. I mean, like I kind of messed up. I was high as like 300, like I was saying, but I meant after that moment, because like I never got above 300 again, which is like one of the few things I'm really proud of in my weight loss journey, is that I never got that bad again. So like I always kind of want to beat myself up, but like I actually lost 50 pounds and it never like came back, like that, like I can say for sure.
That's true. That's good. So a couple things here. Number one, how did you lose weight in high school so fast? Because let's be honest, it doesn't sound to me like you could have done it in a healthy way.
Oh, and I did it. And like the weird thing is I have these like vlogs and I can see like in my eyes just how depleted I was as I was losing weight. Because I was probably realistically eating like 700, 800 calories of food, which is like nothing. And I was working out like a madman. I was doing jiu-jitsu. I was doing like an hour of running. I there was this one video that made me cringe and I had to turn it off, where I was saying I was trying to lose 10 pounds a week, because I had lost 40 pounds in a month. And I was like, I want to keep that momentum. And I would just sound like a crazy person who didn't know what the heck he was doing.
In high school? What year was this?
High school, yeah. 2010, 2011, yeah.
That's insane. That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I say year, I mean, what year in high school were you in?
I was a senior. I was 17 years old, I guess, yeah.
Jesus, that's way too much pressure. I mean, look, my listeners know I made a movie about bulimia. I made a movie about an eating disorder. And so the writing process was about a year, but I had spent 5 years writing it, if you count the toxic relationship I was in, where I dated a girl who was bulimic, man. And I don't really like to go there because I made a movie about it, kind of left it all in the ring, so to speak. But I was in the bathroom with her once when she was making herself throw up. It was one of the most traumatizing moments of my life. I couldn't get her to stop. And I used to, this goes back to, there was always fatter friends. So hence even more, I never looked at myself in the mirror in that way. And then I was dating a bulimic, my first big high school girlfriend from 16 to 20. So during these formative years, like I'm thinking, well, I don't have a problem. She has a fucking problem, right? And so I used to, hearing what you're saying, hearing that story of being 17 and dropping 40 pounds and being like, I need to lose more at that speed, which by the way, it sounds like you're at such a caloric deficit. You're probably burning 3,000 calories a day or more,
Yeah.
not counting what your intake, right? So I think I hear you say this, and it hurts me the same way it hurt me when I was 17, watching my girlfriend hurt herself to be thin, or more importantly, to not be fat, right? Like
Yeah.
it really, I have never recovered from that mind fuck of what our relationship was, because that was like dating her, and I loved her. Dating her was like dating two people. So it was like dating a demon and her, because I had to confront her consequences every fucking day. I lost 70 pounds in one summer, going from 240 to 170. I lost 70 pounds by accident. I did this backyard wrestling video, and my friends were like, dude, look how skinny you are. And I was like, oh my God, like, how did that happen? I didn't know how it happened because I was so in my head. I wasn't trying to lose weight. I just stopped eating. I stopped eating. I remember walking to my friend's house, and he had some pizza. He's like, hey, you want some pizza? And I had this thought where I was like, dude, when was the last time I ate, but I wasn't hungry? And I had the thought, I should eat a slice because I haven't ate in like 3 days. Like, I have not ate. Like, I remember having that one thought, but by then I had already lost 60, 70 pounds. So I too didn't lose it in a healthy way, but I also didn't know. I didn't know. So I never even got to reap the benefits of like being a thin guy that had lost a lot of weight. Hip, hip, hooray. I have some momentum. Like I never weighed myself. Also in my household, like that was like food, diet, and health, well-being was never in the conversation, ever. Nobody checked up on anybody. My mom was never like, hey, you lost a lot of weight. Never, or hey, you good? Let's take you to the doctor, like none of that. None of that. So I'm not trying to hijack the conversation, but this is really sore for me. Like you saying that at 17 years old, dude, if that was my child, I would go into crisis mode and deploy all my resources to fix this.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, so my mom, like, I guess tried her best to like support me in my weight loss, so she would like make me salads and stuff. But I just like knew if I ate a meal, that's more calories that I have to burn. I would just like not eat too much. Like the only thing I ate was like a Subway sandwich, and that was like all I ate every day. Like it was a Subway sandwich and a iced apples, if I remember correctly. And that was my meal. That I ate that every day. and 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 the thing is, like when you're losing weight at that rapid pace, like most people don't know anything about nutrition, so they just see you losing weight, and they're like, "Oh, you're looking so good." And also, people don't really understand like how much 50 pounds is. When someone sees someone that lost 50 pounds, they're not that different looking. They probably lost like 20 pounds, and like so unless someone's like really upfront about it, most people aren't aware of what danger they're doing by losing weight that quickly,
Yeah, and so at a young age, dude, I didn't even know what calories were until our conversation in 2015.
Oh shit.
I didn't know what calories were. I had to be like, well, what is a calorie exactly? And you explained it to me. And I was like, oh, so for like a guy at my weight, I can eat 2,200 calories and still be at a deficit because of the weight that I am and whatever. I was like, oh, and all foods have like it's energy units. Like I never fucking knew that. Where were you supposed to learn that? How did you know that? And for context for the listener, you were in wrestling. You were an athlete. You were an athletic child, right? So
Yeah, and
who put this pressure on you? Where does it come from? Did you do it to yourself? Where did you acquire this information?
well, the thing about so my older brother Marcus, he was also a fat kid. It just he was able to keep his weight off. So in middle school, he was like probably even bigger than I was, and he lost his weight and he never really gained it back. So, like that was always kind of like frustrating to me because I saw what he did, you know, and I was like, why can't I do that? And as far as like where I learned calories were, I guess I just knew it, you know, but like I knew it in a really wrong way. So this is like the moment of the story where it's always a little embarrassing.
Yeah.
Is that like I was on a bicycle, right? Like one of those like workout bikes, and it gives you the calories you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, I didn't understand that your body naturally burns calories, as dumb as that sounds.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I ran for an hour, I lost 800 calories. So like, as long as I don't go over that, I'm losing weight, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's a fucking terrible way. That's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
you have to burn more than you're consuming, but you're already burning how many calories do you think a day doing nothing?
Exactly. Like I was probably, because of how big I was probably already burning like 2,300, maybe even more, because I was kind of an active kid, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was really dumb in that time. And I always kind of, and this is something that I feel like I'm confronting about myself, was I always looked at 17-year-old Jer as like, man, he was really committed. And then it kind of like just hit me like 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, I just had an eating disorder. That sucks.
So talk more about that. What do you think? What do you think and let's be serious, because I really want the listeners to know just how severe I'm talking about this, from what angle I'm talking about it. Like, you know, we always self-diagnose ourselves. Like we'll say, oh, my ex-girlfriend was bipolar, she was crazy, or I'm super OCD right now, whatever. But people are diagnosing themselves, you know. So when we say we had an eating disorder, unless you went to the doctor and you got that diagnosis, you're diagnosing yourself. But also, you're not a dumbass. I know what you mean. I think I agree with you. And when it comes to me as well, like I'm still struggling with that. What do you think the eating disorder is, and how did it start? And it sounds like you just recently confronted that. Like, walk me through that. How does that make you feel?
I don't know, man. Because like I was always proud of what I did when I was 17, you know, like for the longest time. Like, and it also like I was making these YouTube videos and I got these comments like, good job, you know, you're doing great. And like now once in the comments where someone was like, yo, slow down, you know, and you know, like first time in my life I got in like attention by girls. It was just like it was a lot, you know, and it was just like I was in wrestling, you know, and I was like way under my weight class because my weight class was 215 and that was my goal. And I was like wrestling at 200, 198, 199, you know, and I was also like burning so many calories, so I was eating whatever I wanted because like in wrestling you burn a shit ton of calories. So like I was like, this is just my weight now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when wrestling was over, dude, like I must have gained like 30 pounds like in 2 months. No lie. Like I don't even know how that's possible. But I must have, because I remember the end of the school year.
You know, when you starve yourself, your body goes into starvation mode. So whatever you eat, you're not going to burn. When you start consuming calories, it's going to hold on to it because it's afraid that you're going to do that again to yourself.
Yeah. And
right.
Like,
so that's probably how you gained it so fast, because your body was like, you starved it. And so that doesn't happen again. It saved everything.
Yeah. And like, I know all this stuff now. Like, I wish I could go back to high school Jerry and just tell him like, hey, dude, you naturally already burn like 2,000 calories and you're in wrestling, so you probably are closer to 3,000. Like, relax, man. But at the time, I didn't really understand because I was still in that mindset that some people are fat and some people are skinny, and the skinny people can eat what the fat person eats and stay skinny. And you know what I mean? Like, there was like that whole idea that like some people have a bad metabolism, you know? Like,
Sure.
Which is the case sometimes, but it's like not as common as people think, you know?
I think you're right. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Well, why? How did JR, and whether if you want to go back to being 200 pounds when you're in sixth grade or however far back you want to go, how did JR get so fat?
No, honestly, I just like, and this goes, yeah, even to this day, I just have like this uncontrollable urge to like snack on chips. Like I would finish a bag of chips. It was nobody's business, you know, like bag of Doritos, like family size. I was like, oh shit, like that's my jam. You know, I'm gonna finish that like in 2 or 3 days. And I just didn't really have like the best like health education. You know, like I remember every week we would get fast food, like me and my family, and I would just get like the Coke. Like I was a big Coke and Kool-Aid drinker. Like I don't think I drank water until I was like in seventh grade.
Yeah, yeah.
and,
It's part of the
and
culture,
it,
I think, for us as well.
yeah, so I was just like if I was thirsty, I drank Kool-Aid. If I was hungry, I snacked on some chips, but I still had a meal later. So like I was eating like maybe 500, 600, even like 1,000 calories of chips when I was younger. And I was just like, that wasn't a meal. That was just my snack, like, and there's these things, and that's including the Kool-Aid, which is already like whatever. Like,
All
I don't,
sugar. It's all sugar.
yeah, all sugar, really high in calories. So it can make sense looking back on it, like why I gained weight so fast, or like not fast, but just like, I never stopped gaining weight, and it was just because my appetite just never went away. Like I remember I was hanging out with my. This is that kind of uh, sad story, and I understand what my brother was doing, but like it stuck with me, like because I was eating something, and then he had just lost his weight. He was like, you can like die if you keep eating like this." I was just like, "What?" And it just didn't make sense to me.
Hmm.
But like it did, because like I knew,
How old were
I
you when he
knew that
told you that?
I was probably like in seventh grade, if I remember, sixth grade. We were
Oof,
going to my grandma's house.
so young.
Yeah, and it was just like, and like my brother was like in eighth grade or ninth grade. Like he didn't know any better either. But like I kind of looked up to him because he lost the weight and he kept it off, and I was like, you know what, I gotta be committed to it, but I just never could, man. Like it just like I never did until I had my big health scare freshman year of high school with the doctor, and that's when the first time like my family took it seriously because obviously it's scary. So like I remember that whole year my mom like refused to like let me eat anything good, so she would just make me salads and stuff, and it worked. I dropped a bunch of weight. It's just unfortunately when I got my car, like I was back to just doing whatever.
Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that's high school. How many years has it been for you since high school? 5?
No, I'm not that young. It's been 9 years now, right? 10 maybe.
How many birthdays have you had?
27.
Oh, you're still young. 27, that was 2015 for me when I was 27. So I kind of know where you're at a bit. 2015, I was 27. I was your age. And a lot of things aligned for me. But it had a lot to do with me coming out of a hole, of a dark period. Kind of like the way we're doing now. Well, one could argue we're very deep in that hole as a country.
Yeah.
But in 2015, I was coming out of a deep depression. I mean, the Seven Hands of God debacle like really fucked me up. Like I cannot. Maybe you can imagine. It really did a number on me. And also being a new dad. Those two things in tandem with you mix overeating and like coping mechanisms with that, it's a perfect storm. So 2015, we had our conversation. It was also, and I have a picture. It is disgusting. I have a picture of me at the gym, shirtless, fattest I ever was at the time, 265 pounds. And that number shook me because the highest I ever was like 240, 245. So I skipped the 50s. Like I never, and I don't weigh myself often, but I weighed myself 265. That scared me at how close that was to 270. That's just like one meal away from 270. And it scared me. And then we had our conversation about my fitness pal and tracking the calories. And I guess you were losing some weight at the time.
Oh yeah. Well, like I kind of this is like what frustrates me so much is I kind of have these like moments where like I've been good. Like I remember 2015, like that was probably looking back on it, like maybe the healthiest I lost the weight. The only problem with that is like I got lazy and I just never like got back on it. But I remember it's probably like 260 something when I started that journey, and I'd gotten down to 220, right? Like it was a good weight for me. And I knew you were having some struggles of weight loss, so I gave you my advice because I still believe in that advice I gave you, which is like know that your body naturally burns calories, count your calories, just kind of like you can win in the margins. You know, you don't have to make a big change. You know.
Yeah, that's what you told me. The way you sold it to me at the time was like, eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want. You can still lose the weight if you stay under 2,200 calories or 2,400 calories. And I was just like, that's how it works. And you're like, yep. So I thought, well, I can eat a 20 piece of chicken nuggets at McDonald's and still lose weight. And technically, that's true. Technically, it is true, you know, but that doesn't mean that you're healthy. You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
a big mind. And I'm not saying you gave me bad advice, but that it came for me like it was good advice because it meant I didn't really have to sacrifice more than portions, which is a good place to start, you know. And I will say that for me, and I don't know if I guess I want to pose this as a question for you. Like, do you is food connected to you like emotionally in any way?
For sure. Like I think back to my darkest period, which is 2013, 2012, and I just think about how many times I did the lie to myself where it's like I feel really bad, I should eat. I feel really good, I should eat. You
Mm-hmm.
know? And
Mm-hmm.
sooner or later you realize all you do is feel really bad or feel really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like a lot. And I remember going back to my story moment where I was over 300 pounds. It was like shocked me. It didn't because man, I was uncontrollable, man. Like I would go to Pluckers, which is a wing place in Austin, in Texas, but I know primarily from Austin. I would get like a 15 wing combo, the side of fried pickles. And that was my meal, you know. And
Yeah.
I think about that era of myself, and I'm just like, what was I doing, man? Because I'm not dumb, you know. I just it was just like an addiction for me at that. It's still like
What were
something
you
I
doing?
struggle with.
Like, how do you answer that today? What were you doing?
No, I guess I was just trying to hurt myself or something. Like I just dropped out of college at that time. Um, I wasn't making movies, which was like my only other oh good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was it just was like just eating. That was like the only thing that made me feel anything. And I wasn't a big alcoholic or drinker, so that wasn't my escape. You know, my escape was wings. My escape was frozen yogurt. My escape was food. You know, like I was just loved it. You know.
So when you say you wanted to hurt yourself, like, why? Why do you think? Like, was it a distraction? Was it a way of like maybe there was a bigger pain, a bigger, more? For example, I don't want to speak for you, but like, say, you know, for me, Seven Hands of God, that pain, all the stuff that's associated with it is like a loss of friends, um, a loss of like this vision, a loss of money, a loss of the optics of success. Like it felt like such a big fat L in
Yeah.
public. It was humiliating. So you can hurt yourself or cope with like what's a vice for me? Eating a box of pizza, right? Or like in Donna, we have this place called it's a hop, skip, and a jump away from my mom's house where I lived at the time, called Taqueria Morales, and you can order what they call a taco gigante, which stands for a giant taco, and it's a foot long taco. It's like a pound, 2 pounds of food, and I would order one of those and a Coke, right, like or whatever, and then get a fucking cannoli afterwards, for real, and that like hurting myself and ruining that day and the day after because you feel it the next day. Um, well, at least I was in control of that pain, you know. So it took my eyes off of the seven hands of God pain, right? Like that's an example for me. Like what were you taking your eyes off of? What was the distraction? What did you need to be in control of? If that applies to you.
I think it does, and I've honestly like never asked myself that question because it was just like it's kind of a period in my life I'm deeply embarrassed by. So to talk about it is kind of crazy, but it just dropped out of college, and I guess, and it's gonna sound so dumb, and like I'll put that in the front end. I know I always thought like was like a gifted, super genius filmmaker, you know. And when
Mm-hmm.
I went to college, I just assumed everyone would see it, and everyone would be like, "This is the guy. Let's." let's get behind him and make whatever he wants. And it just didn't work out like that. I had short films had fell through. The one I had did was just not very good. It was just like maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought I was, and I felt like my skills weren't getting any better at college. Like I just felt like I'd like peaked or something. Like in high school, I was like, is that just me? I dropped out of school because I was a year away finishing. I was like, I can't get started on my thesis film, my final film. Like it gets, I'm not good enough, and I just like ran away from that. And I think I ran away from it with It is gonna sound like more dark. I mean, it is really dark, but I ran away with gambling and eating. Like like I got really into sports gambling at the time, and I got really into eating.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for sharing because it's not easy. Like, and I feel the reason why I bring this up, it's not to be a dick, it's not to be mean, it's not for content. I bring it up for one reason and one reason only, and that's because I think if we can get to the root of that, and if we wear that on our sleeve and we take it with us wherever we go, that's how we sustain the weight loss for sure. Like that's how I feel like Marines and I always use The Rock as an example. The Rock, his origin story is really great. At one point he was broke, and then he had to go back to the drawing board. And if you listen to his motivational speeches or whatever, or if you know his origin story of Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he had $7 at his poorest. Football, just like kind of what you said, he didn't become the NFL football player he thought he was. He didn't even become the college football player he thought he was going to be. He hurt himself. Somebody else took his spot. Yada, yada, yada. Dark night of the soul, whatever. And now he's this multimillionaire Hollywood rock star, blah, 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 WWF former champion, future Hall of Famer, whatever. But he has a studio production company called $7. And I don't think, one of Rock's mantras is stay hungry, stay humble, right? And it sounds like a nice t-shirt, but with The Rock, I really believe him because he can tap back into that dark night of the soul. He can tap back into it. He keeps it around him. Like the dark shadow that we're always battling against, our shadow selves, is right next to him at all times, chasing him. That's why he wakes up early. That's why he works really, really hard. That's why he puts it and leaves it all on the ring, so to speak. And I feel like if we can keep our dark experiences next to us, not in a way that hurts our self-esteem, but in a way of like we know what we have to go back to, that's what we need to stay the course. I don't want to speak for you, but I know for me, I get cocky and then I'm like, I'm good. I got this figured out. I have it figured out. Like I am so extreme. You said it yourself. Good days, bad days. I can have 45 great days and I think I'm ostensibly cured, and I have learned, and if you heard my last episode, which was sadly, that was 4 years ago, and I've written many more journals since, but I've learned through my behaviors and repetition that's why I keep falling back in this loop, in this pattern, is because I lose sight of that dark teacher. And you have to, there is no other way, and there never was. You have to move forward with that darkness. And so that pain, you have to wear it. You have to wear it every day. That's how soldiers that, like, when they get out of the military, this is my job, sorry. That's why my brain is always there. When the military transition and they go into adulthood, they go into civilian world, like Freddie Quell and The Master, they have to keep their routine right there in front of them. Because now they don't have someone ahead of them to tell them to wake up at 0400 or whatever. They're not hiking with all the boys. They're not doing all the PT, the physical training with the team. They have to do it by themselves, and that's what makes transition for people in the military going into civilianhood so difficult. Is because they have to hold themselves accountable. So they have to. The routine is everything, and this is why when you automate the routine, I think they can become successful and win and keep their fitness, mental and physical fitness moving forward. But they have to remember the good and the bad of what happens when you don't do it. That's the common denominator, and it's the least sexy, and you can't sell that. You can't put it on a t-shirt. You can't put it in a book and sell it. You can share each other's stories, but like when it comes to workout plans and meal plans, like, dude, at the end of the day, you have to remember what you have to go back to. That's the fucking key. And so that's why I know you hadn't really put it out there, and here you are putting it out there to the world. But that's something that I think is an actionable that we can walk away with after this podcast and remember. And we have to remember it, man. We have to fucking remember it if we want to have a snowball's chance in hell and keeping up this momentum. And I'll tell you right now, cards on the table, I don't have any fucking momentum because, and this is a question I wanted to ask you, and it's hard to ask like someone that you look at as a dear friend or like as a brother. So someone can be real with you. It's not a question for my spouse. It's not a question for Claire, but you know, how do we balance, or how do you think we can balance like the self-hate, and not to go on my soapbox, but I feel like the all lives matter people and the people who don't want to wear fucking masks, and like, you know, these people that give us grief in our day to day, I think it all goes back to a self-esteem issue and a self-hate. It has to. Like, I think racism is that,
Yeah, for sure.
and I think these getting these messages through these people's thick skulls is that what do you and I do when it comes to eating and like fitness and like this relationship we have with our temple, our body, right? Like, how do we? What is this is a delicate balance. Like, how do we balance the self-hate? Because like, look, I don't want to text you and be like, "What's up, bitch tits? You know, did you wake up early today?" Like, I'm not. That's not me. I don't bring that energy, you know. But you need a form of pain as a motivator, you know, because I think we do more to avoid pain than we do whatever dopamine you get out of finishing a family-sized Dorito bag. I think we do more to avoid the pain of that than we do the pleasure that we get out of that. So
Sure.
how do we balance this? How do we balance this self-hatred? And because I think that's like a root, you know, in my experience, it always comes back to that.
Oh, for sure. And you know, cards on the table for me. I recently started, you know, a new weight loss journey, and I'm down like 5 or 6 pounds, and it's been a couple of weeks. I'm purposely taking it slow because I wanna, you know, I don't want to like go fast with it this time. But the issue with that is, this is why I was confronting my 17-year-old self. Was that like when you step on the scale and you feel like you've worked hard for like a week and you only see, you know, a pound, 2 pound difference?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that sucks, you know, because
Yeah.
I'm so used to the high of seeing like 6, 7, 8 pounds, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm doing this on purpose. You know, I'm eating 2,300, 2,400 calories, 500 calories even on some days, because I want to lose weight slowly. And I'm kind of trying to get through my head where I'm just like it's not like a race, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of like the key for me this time, because I've been or something came up because I've been to the other side where it's just like I try to go as like quickly as possible.
Yeah. And I know how that feels too. Like, trust me, as a guy who went from junior year as the fat guy to senior year as like, I don't want to say I was the hot guy, but like, you know, I looked good at 170. I think I did. I didn't feel like it. I had a girlfriend who went to a different high school, so it's not like I was trying to fuck people or anything like that. Like, that wasn't my style at the time. But that, you know, I have such an all or nothing personality. And so a part of me, 230, I can't really be happy with that. I'm not happy, even though you should be. Like, you should be happy. You have to accept the slow progress. You have to. I too want to see 199, 205 already. Like, I really do. To the point where if it's not that, I kind of just feel like not as motivated. You know. So what do you do to, you know, what do you do to manage your emotions when it comes to this? Do you put it by the side, or because that's something for me I'm trying to overcome?
See, so like when I was having these like bad feelings about my journey earlier this week, I knew I had to talk to someone about it, just because I know it's irrational, but like I don't know it's irrational until I start talking to someone. So I texted you, and you're fortunately always like, you understand. So you come at a place of like, yeah, for sure. And so that helped me kind of put everything into context where I'm like, as long as I keep doing this, like, doesn't like I don't have to, get down to 200 in a month or something. It's about that journey, and I kind of have this like hatred of like talking about my weight loss because I have a friend, we joke about it. It's like no one wants to hear someone start their weight loss journey just because more oftentimes it fails, and I've failed at it, numerous of times,
Mm-hmm.
like I have to do it privately now. Like there was probably a time in my life where I would have been very public about it, posting Instagram updates or like posting like, when I was younger, like Facebook updates or something,
Well, let's be honest.
and
Like
now it's,
we want to announce it and transmit that for the dopamine, right? We want the instant gratification of like, good job, go do it, good luck, you got this, right? There's a
yeah.
reward in that feedback that doesn't last, anyways, does it? I mean, it never
Oh yeah.
has.
And that's the thing is like you have to do it. You have to find the right reasons to do it. And like I find this new weight loss journey like the funniest for me because I wasn't even trying to lose weight. Like I was not even like a bad place. Like me, like obviously I was still massively overweight, but I was kind of fine with where I was at. And I was at a protest here in New York, and during the protest, they asked us to lay down, and I'm kind of a germaphobe, so I'm like I'm not gonna lay down. So like I lifted up my head and my feet. I was just doing like a modified crunch essentially, and I thought it was gonna be like 30 seconds. We laid down for like 5 minutes, and we got up, um, left back home, and the next day my abs were just on fire. I was just like, man, my abs are on fire. I should just work out because it's already hurting. Started working out, and I wasn't dieting. Like that same day I worked out, I probably ate McDonald's and Popeyes or something. Like it was like it. I wasn't dieting like at all. And 4 days in a row, like I started to like the diet was hurting my exercise. It was like I should eat healthier so I could exercise better. And
Mm-hmm.
then before I knew it, I was already thinking like, well, if I'm doing all this, I might as well just try to lose weight. I stepped on a scale and I was at 250, 251. I was like, this is the lowest I've ever been at the start of a diet. That's kind of cool. But it's also like kind of motivated me to think like if I can keep the same energy I've had where I've been big and I've lost like 30 pounds, I should keep that momentum going. So like because I feel like I've always lost 30 pounds. If I can lose 30 pounds at 250, that means I'm 220, which would be the lowest I've been since I was 18. It was just like all kind of snowballed from there. But I just find it funny that I wasn't desiring to lose weight. It all came from my abs were on fire after a protest, and I was like, this sucks. I'm probably out of shape. I couldn't even do a push up like 3 weeks ago, and now I'm doing like 40. And it's
Yeah,
just like
I feel like it
it's probably
always
the first.
it always comes from like a crisis, or it comes from like a when I say humiliating, I think that's the right way to kind of describe a cumulative humility effect, right? Like it's humbling to be in that position, especially in public, and be like, my abs are on fire for that. I
Yeah,
used to fucking tackle guys down to the ground and blah blah blah. It's like that. Oh, dude, how did I get here? Right? Like that's a wake up call, isn't it? Don't you think?
and for me, like, and this is like was like an honest like wake up call as well. Was like even at my biggest, I feel like I've always been able to do like a bunch of push ups. Like that was like my party trick. I was like the big guy that can do push ups. Um,
Party trick.
then I tried to do push ups, and it was like I couldn't even get 10, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was just like I didn't realize how weak I'd gotten, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna start working out. Um, you know, that's just how it happened.
So let's be honest. Going from 260 to 230 doesn't really require that much effort. I mean, it
Oh yeah,
requires some discipline. You're restricting, you're minimizing your portions. Even just going for a walk, you can lose 30 pounds in maybe 45 days. Just like, but actually doing the work, being laser focused. But from 230 to 200, when's the last time you did that? That's when you hit the plateau and you get tested. And then when you get tested, that's when I find you either get satisfied, complacent, and you go backwards, or it takes tremendous effort to break through that wall. So, what do you have in mind this time when you're 229, and then it takes 2 weeks to lose 1 pound, right? And then you're 228, and then you're just like, what the hell? Like, why is this so difficult? Like, how do you have a desired weight, and how do you plan on getting there?
Oh, I was thinking about that because I think anyone that's lost a decent amount of weight knows what a plateau is, right? And for me, for the last years, my plateau has been 230s. Like I've seen 229 once, and I was so happy.
When was the last time you saw 229?
It's a little embarrassing because it's somewhat recent, but like early 2019, I would say.
Really?
Yeah.
What were you doing? Was it healthy?
I mean, honestly, it's just what you were saying. Like when you live in New York, and I was working at a massive grocery store, you walk around a lot, and if you just kind of like the bare minimum of like watching what you eat, you can lose some weight here if you're
That's
a big
right.
guy like me.
Yeah.
And I was working, 32 hours a week. I was going to school 5 times a week, and I was moving a lot, and it was just like cool,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of came off, and then. Uh, like the thing is, I didn't even let myself go. Like if I use my 250 as like what I am, I started my weight loss a couple weeks ago. That means I gained like what 20 pounds in a year, which is like nothing for me. I feel like I usually gain that like in a in a bad weekend.
Mm.
So like I feel like I've been kind of good. And honestly, I think the reason why I gotten up to 250 was just because of quarantine. Like if there was no quarantine, I probably would have been around 240. And
Mm.
now, and I was fortunate, caught myself when I did, because I could have seen myself like going really back to the old me. Because dude, I was eating pretty badly the last month, and honestly, it's kind of shocking that I wasn't higher than I was, because I was like eating ice cream, I was eating pizza, I was eating so many things that I know are just bad, and I don't know why it just wasn't. It, I stepped on the scale. I was expecting a lot worse. I guess I can leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you again. So, well, first of all, you did answer the question to 229. Congratulations. For me, man, in 2015, I had so much momentum. Like, it was one of the last times I was feeling myself, and which is weird because it was in the valley. I was working a shit job, but it was a leadership position, and so I was interfacing with people frequently. And the best part is when you're working a job that you don't love is you can daydream and you can be passionate. You have a quote unquote side hustle. And so I was designing what became Indie Darlings today then, and it was fun. And then, you know, I didn't have a commute to work, and so I spent 600 and actually close to $700, which is a lot of money for me at the time. Like it was everything I had to get a bike, and I would ride a bike from Donna to McAllen, and it wasn't it ended up being, I think, like 17 to 19 miles round trip. But I would wake up at 3:30, get on my, drink a cup of coffee, change, put my stuff in a bag, whatever, and I would ride my bike from Donna. And when I started that journey, I must have been 235, right? Because I had already had some momentum. But I started that year at 265. So I'm 235, doing it your way, like doing it just kind of eating what I want, but just minimizing my portions. I'm riding the bike, and I would get to whatever McAllen, it was on 10th Street or something, whatever McAllen gym that they had there. And I'd work out for 45 minutes, take a shower there, and then ride the bike the rest of the way, get there at work 30 minutes before my shift. And dude, I was on fire. I still had energy, and I was on fire. But then the come 5:30, the bike ride back kicked my ass every single time. Like I'd get to far, and I'm like, I got nothing. I can't keep going. I get to Alamo. I get to Donna, and like the victory. Every day was a victory getting back to Donna. And I couldn't even eat what I was burning. This is the first time in my life where like I'd get to Donna, I'd eat an ice cream bar, I'd eat an apple, I would drink a Big Red, and I was still at a caloric deficit. I was just trying to like load. I was just like depleted, man. Like I felt fucking empty. And I think at my lowest I got to like 226. And then I got hit by a car and I was afraid to ride a bike again for a while. And then I was off from work for 10 days and I went to like 240. I was like, fuck, you go from extremes. Like, I will say, I have to say this. So I bring up that story to say the last time I was in the 20s was in late 2015. I was riding a bike. I mean, this is extreme. I consider that extreme. I was riding 20 miles a day on a bike. For my fat ass, who had never ridden a bike in 20 years, like that was a big deal. And I couldn't even eat as much as I was burning. That felt nice. But I have to quote BoJack Horseman, the end of season 2, when the baboon runner character, who's nameless, I believe, tells BoJack, who's trying to run, it gets easier. Every day it gets easier, but you have to do it every day. That's the hard part, but it gets easier. That right there is what it is. It's the formula, man. Like, the hard part is doing it every day, but it gets easier. That paradox, like the magic is in that paradox. And I can beat myself up and like go through a shame cycle, feedback loop, beating myself up, thinking, man, Knives, if you never stopped in 2015, what would you be now? And as a creator who interfaces with the public, whether if it's videos or podcasts, your state of mind and your physiology matters. Like, your first impression matters. And I know that I could create a better product and be a better filmmaker if I was fitter. That fucks with me. I know I could be a better lover with Claire, who I've been with for 7 years, if I was fitter. I know I could be a better dad and like play with my kids for longer. And I play basketball with Aiden, but like, dude, there are times where I can't go 3 rounds, where I'm just like, after 2, I'm like, I'm done. And if I was fitter, like just how it would impact my entire life. There's not a camera I could buy. There's not a movie I could make that would give me a bigger dopamine rush, a greater reward system than just being able to hang for longer with the stuff that I already love. And for some reason, even though I know that, why isn't that enough for me to fucking keep going? And then that's when the self-hate starts and I'm in this cycle of just like, you're broken, you're a piece of fucking shit, you're fat filth, and like all that shit comes down. So I feel like we know where we've come from. We know what we have to go back to. I don't like where I'm at right now. I hate it. I just don't know how to stay better all the time when it's hard. When it's fucking hard. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it. I've never been consistent.
And that's what I'm looking at this time. I'm hoping to improve. So like you asked me earlier, like, what's my end weight goal and like how am I gonna get there? And honestly, like, this is gonna sound like insane to me, but I know it's like what I want to do. I want to be at a 2-pound deficit every week until I get to what weight I had like in a journal. But basically, I want to start like pumping down my calories as I lose weight. It's just counterintuitive to like everything maybe I've thought of in the past, where it's like let's say 215, right? I want to cut it down to like a 750 calorie deficit. Then I get to 200, I want to cut that down to 500. And say if I get to 190, I want to cut it down to 250. And my end goal ultimately is 180. And honestly, I would be happy at 190. I'd be happy at 200. I just kind of want to have that carrot in front of me, just in the sense that like I want to like slowly start eating what a person my body size should eat, and kind of keep that in memory. And of course, like when you have 1,000 calories that you're playing with, you can kind of be fast and loose with your calorie deficit. But when I start bumping it down to 500, I want to get like a food scale, kind of like actually measure stuff and like get the exact weight of stuff, so I know what I'm putting in my body for in the future. And I've kind of come to this realization that like losing weight is easy, working out is easy, being committed to it is easy, but what's hard is the counting of the calories. And it gets easier when you do it every day. Like when I first started again, it was like so dumb. Like, am I doing this again? But like now that I'm like 2 weeks in, it's like, it's easy. Like I'm like, oh, okay. So I ate, like that piece of chicken with the tortilla, and it was 350 calories, whatever. And I follow this one guy on YouTube, and he annoyed the crap out of me. His name was like Will Tennyson, but he's kind of like what made me kind of relook the way I look at counting calories. Because if you look at this kid, like he's like like, the buffest looking dude ever. And I'm like, why is he so worried about his macros and his calories?
Mm-hmm.
And then I've kind of hit like a ding. I was like, wait a minute, like if I get to my goal weight, that doesn't necessarily mean that I can stop counting calories. Like until I'm really comfortable, which could take years, then I have to keep counting calories, you know,
Yeah.
because I have no self control. Like if I think I can stop counting calories, then that means I'm gonna go back to the old me and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna get a hero chicken sandwich with the mayo, and I want to get a bag of Takis. I want to get like chocolate bar, and like I know that's probably like over, 1,800 calories or something, but like it's like I kind of lie to myself, unless I like keep, keep myself like committed to the counting of the calories, like I can't beat it. So that's why I'm gonna start like getting back the deficit I'm in as I'm losing more weight, just so I can be more scientific with it. I can like really start understanding my body in a real way.
I don't know. Like, I can't even. You're talking John Wick shit. Like, I don't know. Like, I really don't. I understand scientifically what you're talking about, but that seems like a light year away for me to relate to that. And it's strange. Like,
Yeah,
do you find that approach a compelling enough goal to break through the multiple plateaus that you will inevitably hit, like at 240, 230, 220, 215, 210, and so on? Like, it's going to be it's going to require a different approach. You have to shock your body and so on to get there. Do you think the scientific approach is compelling enough for you to break through those plateaus?
and that's the thing is like
That's not the way I work, buddy. I'll tell you that. It ain't going to be that for me.
for sure. And like I don't know because this is very similar to what I did in 2015. Like the only difference is in 2015, I probably wasn't as smart as I am now with it. But like 2015, I basically did what I'm doing now. But for me, I think the idea of cutting back calories, because in 2015, I was always aiming for 1,000, and it kind of got hard
A
when I.
thousand deficit to consume only 1,000 calories?
Oh no, deficit. My bad.
Uh huh.
I was just speaking in terms of deficit, which means I was still eating like a healthy amount of food, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, when I got to the lower 230s or something, it's kind of hard. And then, like, also, I had just started dating Laura, and I was just like, you don't want to be like the dork who is like, wait, how much is in, in this thing? Like it's just like it's you kind of like get lazy with it, and the thing is, I don't mind getting lazy. It's just like I have to, like, if I get in because, like, let me like, say it like I have really bad binge eating habits, and I think we both do.
Totally.
And when I have, because I know I'm gonna relapse in this journey, like it just, I've like never not have relapses, like where in terms of just like I have a really bad day, or like a really like something like I'm just like, whew, I'm gonna eat that ice cream, I'm gonna eat that thing. So when that happens, I can't dwell on it. But something even
Mm-hmm.
more important,
Mm-hmm.
I can't let that ever be okay as I'm losing weight, which is something I've never thought before.
What
Because
do you
I
mean?
always
What do you
had
mean
the,
by that?
because I feel like, so like let me use 2015 for example. Like when I ever had like a bad binge eating day, I never actually like punished myself because I was so like, well, that's not too bad. But then you start thinking, well, that's not too bad. And then you can kind of let yourself do it instead of once every 3 months, you do it once every month. And then that once every month becomes once every week. And then on once every week becomes a couple of times a week. And then soon you start doing these like calorie gymnastics to try to fit a 6,000 calorie day into your week, because you chase that high. And I think that's like the one thing about my advice to you I would reconfirm, which is like you can't let yourself have these bad days just because you had a couple of good days before and you have the calorie room to spare.
No, no, I don't agree.
What do you mean?
I don't agree with that. Like, I I look at it like a junkie, man. Like, you're telling me it's okay to have it's okay to have
Oh no, maybe you
it's okay to
misunderstood.
have it's okay to have like an occasional crack rock here and there. I don't
No,
fucking
no, dude.
agree. Like for
Yeah,
me, I can't, dude. I cannot.
no, I think we're on the same page. I think you might have misunderstood me. What I'm saying
Maybe.
is that like back in 2015, that was my mindset. Where now it's not my mindset
I
anymore.
think now
You know?
you feel like you're not going to beat yourself up as much and be like, it's over. I'm going back to the old fat me. Yeah, I agree. You can't have that mindset. If you find yourself, and take it from me, like with kids, man, like, yeah, sometimes, dude, when someone's got a birthday party, I can't be the asshole that doesn't eat the cake.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be the asshole that doesn't have ice cream when everybody else does or whatever. Um, I feel bad, you know, or like 4th of July. Am I going to be the asshole that doesn't eat,
Burgers, hot
barbecue?
dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a hot dog, but I know that just the bread of the bun kills me. I look at that as like a loss. It hurts just as much as like, jacking off alone at a hotel. Like if it feels like, I should be better than this. So I agree with you. Like you should have the occasional crack rock. No, I'm kidding. But I can't, man. Like if it's going to be sugar, like I can't have cake.
Yeah, no, and I agree in theory, but man, like, and this is
Dude,
maybe where me and you disagree. Like,
yeah, I think we disagree here.
you think realistically you can go the rest of your life without eating like a piece of cake?
I'll tell you that I want to be the type of person that that I want to be that type of person. I do. I don't want to be like, for me personally, it's like alcohol, man. That's like asking an alcoholic, you want to be the type of, you don't want to have champagne at your daughter's wedding?
Oh, and I agree, and
I'm
I
telling
make
you, like,
that.
dude, it is for real. Like, just to kind of really put it out there. Like, I have these uncles who never touched a drop of alcohol. My grandma died recently. Their mother, they didn't touch an ounce of alcohol. They weren't like, this is for mom. Like the way your vaquero uncles would. Like they didn't, and so I know it's all or nothing. And alcohol, for me, alcohol is way less dangerous than a Dr Pepper,
Oh, for sure,
for
and I
sure.
agree. I agree, I guess like in theory, I have your mindset as well. I just know
And I feel
myself, and I
bad because
know.
I feel like I'm being the toxic guy, because this
No,
is
no,
just another excuse to like not go all in sometimes because it's so extreme, can't do it. That's not what I mean, but it's just like no, I can't, dude. Me. There are some like you heard the donut story. I can't. There is no casual donut. I don't believe in it.
no,
I,
and
I
I'm
don't
with
fucking
you in
believe
some
in it,
ways.
man.
Like for me, for this like these past weeks and a half or 2 weeks or however long it's been for me, um, I haven't had like any chips at my house, and I've also have not bought any bread, which is kind of insane for me because like usually when I go grocery shopping, these are like my two main food groups. So it's kind of it's kind of like I'm cutting that out in a way. Where I mean, and truth be told, like I have ordered like a sandwich and and I've had chips, but like that to me is like a more controlled thing. Or like I can say comfortably, but I'm never gonna buy chips again at a grocery store because I just know that's impossible for me.
There
But
you
if I'm
go.
like at a sandwich shop and like they have like a little bag of chips that's only like 200 calories, like whatever, like I don't mind eating it, but I have to know that
I think
I
that's
can't
like
bring that
that's the
I can't bring that
Goldilocks
home with
zone.
me.
That's the
Hmm?
Goldilocks zone. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just right where you can have a healthy relationship with food. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that approach. It's not, I feel like it's not in my cards. It's
No,
not in
and
my
that
cards. Which, okay, and so we should hold on to that because I think we should. There's so much potentiality there. I want to ask you, when you see like these pictures on Instagram or whatever, and it's like the different male body types, right? And there's like the Thor Bjornsson mountain Game of Thrones guy who's like this whatever morph, like thick but not like super shredded type guy, whatever. And then you have like these frail motherfuckers, like these Paul Dano types, right? And I'm not trying to body shame Paul Dano at all. What I'm saying is like, have you ever asked yourself like what body type you're supposed to be? Like if we were back in the wild, like what is JR supposed to look like? Like if you take all the processed food, you take all the sugar and chips and all this shit that it's just not natural. Like what is JR supposed to look like? Have you had that conversation with yourself, and where do you land with that? Because eventually you're gonna be at a weight that you're supposed to be. and you're eating what you're supposed to eat. That's good for your genetics and good for your brain, and you're energized, and maybe you're running a Boston Marathon in 5 years, 3 years or something, right? So what is that end result? Like, what do you think you're supposed to be? And I'll just kind of answer for me, because I don't know what I'm supposed to be at all. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to be like, I had this one friend growing up, we backyard wrestled together. Shout out to Juno, he'll never hear this. But when he got fat, it looked like muscle. Like, he was one of those guys where, like, it went to his forearms, it went to like his pecs. Like, he looked like chunky, like buff, but he was fat. He didn't work out, you know? But it looked good on him. For me, it goes into my gut, it goes into my tits. I have like the flattest Hank Hill ass you've ever seen. I don't get an even distribution of fat, right? So it's like, am I supposed to be skinny? Am I supposed to be thin? But like, am I supposed to be 145? Because according to the BMI, I'm supposed to be 145. Are you kidding me? How?
No, I think about that all the
How
time
could I be
because,
145 and be happy and be how? But am I? Like, when I see these fighters, like when Connor went to 145 or whatever it was, I'm like, dude, you don't look normal, man. Like, you look unhealthy. You do not look normal. So what is like JR supposed to walk around at?
to be honest, I don't know either. And I when I got to 196, which is the lightest I've ever been, I thought I looked really good, but I also know I had some like, I also was still technically overweight according to BMI, which I don't know. I wonder if I did like a body fat percentage, what I would be at the time, because I was kind of working out a lot. So, but no, like, but for argument's sake, my BMI would still classify me as overweight, and apparently I'm supposed to be 173 or 168, right? Like, that's the upper limit of normal weight.
What do you think about that?
And there's always like I always like wonder if I like push myself to get there, what I would look like. And I don't know, because like technically my older brother Marcus, like, I'm not sure if he's ever been classified a normal weight, but I don't think anyone would ever call him fat. You know what I mean? Or overweight.
Absolutely not. So, no, he looks good.
So like, I don't know. Like, I thought I looked pretty, like fine at 196, but there is a part of me that wonders, like, if I did get to that normal zone, like, what would it look like? Am I supposed to be like a little skinny, like, like, this is so valley right now, but like those like really skinny kids like in high school that were like, I was like, is that supposed to be me? Like, am I supposed to look like one of those kids?
Yes, I do.
Who knows, because I have these like monster thighs, man. Like, even when I was 196, my thighs were insane. So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do wonder that. Like, I do wonder if I ever.
This is super vain, but like, I think about that with my face. I was on a group call earlier for work, and I looked at my face, and I'm like, it looked like this is the fattest I've ever been. Like, it looked like I had chipmunk cheeks, like I had something inside my mouth, like I had gum in my cheeks or something. I do not like that. So like, what is my face supposed to be? Like, gaunt? When someone loses a lot of weight, and it's like, bro, are you good? You look like you're cosplaying. Like, you're supposed to be John Leguizamo in a fat suit, but you're not. Like, what is happening? And so I don't know, like, when I was walking around at 175, I was still fat. I still had a lot of fat. Like, I was walking around with a lot of fat, So it's like, drop 30 pounds out of that. How's that not like an emaciated person? Like, I don't know. And also, I don't see myself as like a putting on a lot of muscle kind of guy. I don't see myself doing that. Like, I don't even know how easily, genetically speaking, how I can put on muscle. Like, there's a body type that I like, and this is where we sound weird. But I really like, not recent Shia, but I like lawless Shia quite a bit. Where he had some meat on him, but he wasn't skinny. Right now, he's like, dude, eat a fucking croissant. Why don't you? Please, you're dying. But I kind of feel like we're similar, maybe. Like, I think we're supposed to be. I don't know. And so, but he's never got like Tom Hardy burly, jacked, and I don't think I'm supposed to be. And so like, I would love to do an Ironman one day, run a marathon one day, right? Like, I would really like to run a marathon under 4 hours. That's like a dream crazy, like, I'll win an Oscar before I'll run a marathon, but it is way more practical to run a marathon, And so like, but my body type, like, when all the fat that's not supposed to be there falls off, what am I supposed to be, look like, feel, walk around with? That to me is the goal, because I want to be healthy. I want the doctor to be like, your heart is good, your liver is good, your kidneys are good. The look, and then you dress accordingly and you make it work. But like, I just don't know what it's supposed to be. But I know it's not supposed to be the fat suit that I'm wearing right now. I'm fucking Eddie Murphy and the Nutty Professor right now, and it's not fun.
No, and it's you mentioned something, and I had somewhat of a similar reaction in 2012 or 2013. Like all these dates kind of merged into me, but I had went to a screening for one of my projects I did, and my mom took a picture of me, and I was at a profile or whatever. Like I was standing, like it got my side, and I had never seen a photo like that because became really good at like always facing the camera because I feel like I always look good when people look at me straight up.
Yeah.
Like that's the one gift I have. But I saw the picture of me on the side, and I just fucking looked like every single pound was in my belly. I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
That's where I'm at right
And
now.
and I was just like, man, that's disgusting. And I think that might have actually been the motivator for me to kind of for that Gold's Gym where I unfortunately found out my weight. And and dude, like it's scary when you're confronted with like a really bad photo because there's no hiding. You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, this is how I look. And
I do know what you mean. Yeah, I'm on camera quite a bit, sadly,
yeah, and it just and as far as like body types and everything go, like I mean, I have no idea. I just know that I'm trying to lose a lot of weight right now because I think at the very least I know I shouldn't be above 210. Like I should honestly like at my biggest I should be like 210, and that's what I'm trying to go to. Like, but like sometimes when I'm like 230 or something, like I don't think I look bad. I just like for me it's all about health now. Or maybe when I was younger, it was like more about getting attention from people or securing a good job or something. You know?
For me, it's about energy, dude. Like in 2015, and I was natch, fucking just natch. My energy when I was like at 233, 228, people were like, slow down. I much rather have people say, yo, lower the volume, slow down, than like, are you okay? Because I'm spacing out, like, because I'm fucking hating myself and shit. And this is why I don't want to talk about this now, maybe some other time, but like, I wonder if Kanye West is actually bipolar or if he's just a really, really bright color. And I feel like people try to be like, he's bipolar. I feel like just let him be wild. People can't handle wild. People like there's such a strange thing going on right now. And I'm going to get off the subject really fast. There's such a strange thing going on right now where it's like, the Pink Floyd, we don't need no, whatever the fuck that song is called. That whole music video archetype of just like the people need to be the same, need to be uniform, need to shut up, be quiet, speak when you're spoken to. Like that kind of thing is what's going on like in pop culture right now, even though it's such a microcosm of our country. Kanye will never be that. He's never going to toe the line. And so I wonder if he's genuinely has a chemical imbalance going on with him. If so, this guy needs help. We need to put him on medication, help him out, balance him out, whatever. Even if it curbs some creativity, or I just wonder if he's just from Chicago, just a black dude from Chicago who just turns up every now and then. And so I know for me, when I'm feeling myself and I'm comfortable in my clothes and I get to be me, the me I like to be. I know people are like, yo, chill, but it's like, I like to be at that level, man. And as a creative, like, look, I'm far more inclined to have the self-esteem to make a video that I'm in front of if I get to be the bright color that I get to be, And so like you, I have a limited option. Not that you said this, but yeah, I've mastered the illusion of like looking straight to the camera, but like I'm limited in my options of what I can do without like looking like a giant fucking lethargic fat ass on camera. I don't want that, and I don't think anybody wants to see that, So I'm limited, and I don't like it. I can't. How are you on time? Are you good on time? I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, I'm good on time, and you bring up those photos, and like to be honest, like there is a part of me when I see photos at my brother's wedding, like I look at myself and I'm like, ugh, like, and again, I'm not even like at what I perceive as a bad weight. It's just like there's certain angles, even when I'm only 250 or whatever, only 250. Like I still don't like how I look, and I'm just like the only weight I had ever been where I was just like any angle you get where I'm like, hey, I like that angle was when I was below 210, and that's when I felt like you can get me in my worst angle on my worst day, and I still look kind of fine.
Hmm.
And I think about how much confidence I had like early 2011 to late 2010, and I just like I don't know, like in some ways I don't like that my confidence is tied to my weight, but I
Of course it
wonder
is.
if it's
It's tied to your physiology.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna get at. I was like, I wonder if it's just more in terms of just like what you were saying, like I had so much energy and I had 'cause when I was in wrestling, I was eating a decent amount to obviously stay in my weight class. And I just felt like I don't know, like I felt really happy. Like I was like, like running. I was doing 75 push-ups just because I was kind of bored. And I was just like, yeah, this is cool. And then like I've never gotten that like kind of health. Like the closest maybe would have been 2015 when I was doing like weightlifting,
Mm.
but which was also really fun, which I kind of miss doing. If the pandemic ever ends, I might get back into that. But like I don't know, like man,
I searched up Shia LaBeouf. How tall do you think he is?
I'm not.
He's 5'9". How much do you think he weighs? Like his
I don't know, like 160.
158. So very close, very very close. So for me, man, like I would have to have put some muscle on, working out, feel pretty good at 158, which means pretty not a lot of fat. I can't imagine that right now. That's literally 100 pounds less than what I am right now. I can't imagine that. And it's not even about like how long that'll take, or I don't care about that. I don't care if it takes 2 years. But what 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 am I supposed like? I just that feels impossible. It
Well,
feels impossible that that's supposed to be normal. Not that this is normal. Like being 260 isn't normal. I don't want this, man. Like I don't fucking want this. I'm sick of it. I hate it. I fucking hate it. But I also want wherever I land, because eventually, you're not eventually you're going to be working out and eating well. You have a routine. It's the new normal, and you're not trying to lose weight. It's no longer the goal when that happens. And wouldn't that be the day? But I just want to prepare for that. So when I'm close to it, not only do I have something, a target that I can hit, but also that way you have new goals once you're there. Like that's what's going to inspire me. And I truly believe in order to get there, like there is no chocolate fudge on Sundays, some days, like, no. Like I get it when you're The Rock. I get it when you're Vince McMahon, you have one cheat date a month or whatever. I get that. That's just not, I ain't fucking there. I'm not going to delude myself into thinking that
no,
that's
and
fucking possible.
that's an important thing I think you bringing up is that like for me like a cheat day is like something you shouldn't even be thinking about when you start.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Because that means that you're only losing weight, eat, which is not like healthy.
Absolutely.
And I think I may go down and I think it's like an occasional like like half a cheat meal or something like that is fine. Maybe I don't do it personally, but I can understand someone that does. But uh, I don't even think about cheat days. Like it's never been something that excites me, and I'm glad that I don't think that way when I'm in the weight loss journey because I think it's kind of toxic. I think uh, you're losing weight only to eat again, and I think that's kind of what I did when I was 18. Maybe like I don't like know exactly what 18-year-old Jared was thinking, but I'm willing to bet maybe he thought that way.
I
And
would,
I think
I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
yeah, if 10 years have changed anything in me, it's just that mindset where I don't. To be honest, like the idea of eating a chocolate sundae doesn't even excite me the way it did, even like 5 years ago. And I feel like I've gotten better relationship with food over time, which is why I've been able to like relatively stay away from my danger weights, which is like 260, 272, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the only thing that still brings me down is chips. And it's like
That's
like
so interesting.
and it's like a lover that you can't get away from, and it's just like,
Yeah, I tell
I,
Claire loves chips, and for her it's the same. Like she will order Chipotle, but for the chips, you know, and the meal is kind of like the entree. The chips is the main course, and I tell her,
yeah,
you know, it's the crunch. She likes the crunch. That's what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, and
There
it's just
are very low calorie, quote unquote, keto alternatives like pork rinds, very crunchy, very low on calories. It's like eating
no
nothing.
chip. Yeah, no, and I hear all that, man. It's just like, and it's just like I don't know, like to be honest, like even talking about it right now,
I'm sorry.
no,
Yeah,
no, and
no.
it's fine because I want to like I want to get through it.
I'm gonna
Like
turn my
even
fan
talking about
on,
it right now.
so you might hear it in the background. Sorry, listeners. I'm in my garage. It's Austin. It's fucking hot. It's 12 noon. It's fucking hot. So I'm turning on my fan. Sorry for the hum. You know, and I
Fine.
apologize for that. How you feel about chips? I feel that way about like 12 other things.
Yeah,
It's
and and,
terrible.
and 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 to me, I've cut down a lot of like the bad stuff, but it's just it's like one of those movies where you think you have a best friend and it's chips, and then you realize that it was like kind of
I would
holding you
tell
back.
you that if you are serious about, oh, back in the day, JR had an eating disorder, I would make the argument very clear that once in recovery, always in recovery. You have to look at it like an AA thing. It's so easy for Steve-O or Eminem. There's a reason why they're still in recovery. There's a reason why they're sober. There's a reason why they still go to AA in their own way and get their chips or whatever. It's because they know that all it takes is one relapse and it's gone. They know that one Advil, you know, can lead to something else. One sip of wine can lead to something else. So I would tell you, like, if it's that harsh, like you should probably make your peace with leaving chips behind and search for healthy alternatives, such as maybe you make your own keto blah 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 chips.
Yeah, and maybe maybe one day. Like I don't know, like I can't quit it cold turkey, and that's like a big issue for me. In in 2015, I didn't quit it at all. Like I remember I would like just say like 1,000 calories for me is just gonna be a chip. Like it's gonna happen some days. And I kind of this
Wow.
time around, yeah, this time around I've cut it down to like a chip a week for the last like 2 weeks. Right? And it's like usually with the sandwich,
Mm.
and it's like just the other day I this is gonna sound so funny, but I was getting my sandwich at a bodega, right? And I was like looking at the chip I used to get, and I was like, I wonder if I could fit this in my calorie day. So I looked at it, I got the hot Cheeto bag, I did the calculation. I was like, what the fuck is 900 calories in this? And it blew my mind. And I probably knew that, but like just seeing the number like in front of your face, it was just like, whoa. So I just got like the little small bag that was like 150 or not 150, 190.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this is and it was fine. I was full. And like honestly, like I know I can eat a good meal without chips. And like maybe you're right. Maybe I should just quit it because like if I do know that, then why do I keep going back to it? You know?
Yeah, I'm dude. I'm telling you. I mean, I just don't. Here's what it is: either you're a junkie or you're not, and you have to be honest with yourself. I can't tell you whether you are or not. If you are, there is no the occasional side crack rock. There isn't.
No.
There isn't one beer for an alcoholic. It doesn't exist. And so for me, it's that way with sugar, my guy. Like, it's that way. It's fucking that way. But I take it so seriously that I'm like, well, pasta and bread turns to sugar, so I got to eliminate that. And
So,
then
so
dairy. There's a whole argument and all these studies to be made that like human beings ain't supposed to fuck with dairy, other than like the probiotics in a whatever, like your occasional cottage cheese or whatever the fuck it is, yogurt, whatever the fuck. But like cow's milk we're not supposed to have, not really. Butter, cheese, like we're not really supposed to. Our bodies weren't supposed to drink other animals milk. I understand if you're starving, this is a completely different thing, completely different conversation. Everybody's different. But for me, like there's so much. Say for example, I had a friend who told me, who's trying to help me on this journey, and she said that she loves cereal, but she will have cereal for dinner, and it'll be like Raisin Bran with almond milk, right, for dinner. And I tried that, and then I'm like, fuck this almond milk shit, and I get the whole milk. But that shit is like Mountain Dew. There's so much sugar in milk, right? So like I don't trust dairy. There's sugar in cheese. Like I don't trust it. And then there's like an extreme. There are these extremes where I remember I was in Hawaii for work just this past November. I was on this military base. I couldn't get access. This very kind lady who was like this black lady who looked like 35, but she was 65. And we got to chat, and she was telling me how she has one cheat day, and it's on her birthday every year. And it was such an event that she was showing me pictures on her iPhone of McDonald's. She got a McGriddle for her birthday, and like one of those like mocha frap bullshits that have like chocolate chips in it. That's what she got for her birthday. And she was like, instead of a cheat day, it was a cheat meal because I felt like shit for the rest of the day. And I was like, I would love to be that guy that on my birthday, for me, it's going to be going to Fuddruckers and like eating this very bready, cheesy fries, all that kind of shit, greasy, like that sounds good. Making it an event out of it. You get a root beer float, you overdo it on your birthday once a year. But as a junkie, if I'm being honest and true to myself, I know I can't do it. I can't even do that. I can't smoke the occasional crack rock. I just can't. It has to be all or nothing. And like how I tap into my momentum is from that extreme, is from saying no dairy. I call them the white devils. No dairy, no sugar, no bread, no pasta. Like I just can't have that. I can't have that, man. And like I understand for those people this does not apply if you have a healthy relationship with food, but I don't. I don't have a healthy relationship with food. It's abuse, man, and it's like cutting, or it's like drugs. Like it's my brain, man. Like I told you how I ate that one donut and I heard demons, and that's not an exaggeration. I literally heard. It's my own brain, obviously, but I heard like take out your fucking dick and jack off. What is that? Because of one donut? No, thank you, man. And it doesn't matter if it's a donut or if it's a Hershey's Kiss, something ostensibly harmless. I cannot, man. I cannot. And so that might be you with chips. It sounds like it mind fucks you already. So just saying out there, are you a junkie or not? If you're not, well then I think you could find a reasonable balance. But if you are, just opt out. Opt out, my guy. Opt out.
Yeah, and maybe I will if I feel it hurts. It hurts me, but like
I feel like I'm talking to Jake the Snake right now.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm sorry. But like to be honest, like if there's one thing I think I'm kind of good at, it's like if I find something that really truly like is affecting me, like I can usually cut it out. Like even as a kid, I cut out Kool-Aid and Coke pretty fast, and I hardly drink that stuff now. And I cut out like most of the desserts when I want to. Like it's pretty easy for me to cut out desserts, and for whatever reason, chips are just kind of like at that for me. And it's like I guess because it's been around for so long that I just think of it as like rid of meals, And in that way, it should just be something I cut out. Like if I make a sandwich, like maybe I should make a side salad, or maybe I should eat some popcorn. Something lame like that. But for whatever reason, the crunch of chips is gets me going, which is maybe kind of a bad thing, to be honest. But I think I could get to a point, maybe I'm wrong, where I don't eat chips for a lot of time, but if someone offers me a chip, like I probably will eat it, and I probably will enjoy it. But I think I can say without any like hesitation, like I'm never gonna buy like a chip at a grocery store again, just because like. And I finished that so fast. Like the other day, I got it in like one of those industrial size. Not the other day, but like this was like weeks ago now. Like Tostito bags or whatever. And I was just like, I had a salsa, and I just like finished the whole salsa thing like in one sitting. I was like, fuck. I was just like, this is bad. And I think I have no self control. So if like I purposely limit the chip that comes in, like I'm pretty good at that. I just can't like actively buy it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten good at it. Like, the last 3 times I've gone grocery shopping, I gotten any. Even though this last time it was kind of hard. I was looking at the Fritos and I was like, what's right there, man? We're out there, and I was like, no, it's not. It's not worth it. I walked past it, and maybe one day I get to the point where like I need to honestly
Yeah,
put it.
you're not hearing yourself. You don't know how bad it is. Like if you just took the transcript of what you're saying, you yourself would be like, that's like dialogue I wrote from a junkie who's not self-aware. I'm serious.
Maybe
You're
maybe
like you're
you're
like
right.
maybe in 4 years, I give myself the occasional chip. I'm like, what are you saying right now? Are you
No,
fucking
it
out of your mind? You're out of your mind.
might be.
I think
No,
so. And that's
but
okay. That's okay too. Like it's cool, man. Like this is all part of it. I think you'll go back and
yeah,
listen to this and be like, I'm addicted.
and maybe like okay, well, okay, I won't eat a chip anymore as much as I want to, because honestly, there is alternatives, and it's pretty easy to get those alternatives.
What's
They're
that?
just
What
like
are the alternatives?
I don't know, like popcorn or like kale chips. Like they're there.
Okay.
30 calories instead of 190 calories per serving. Like it's there, but it's like honestly, like I guess for me there isn't just a good alternative. Like so, like when I no longer eat ice cream, I'm just eating a Greek yogurt with like a scooping of like low sugar jam, which is like usually like less than 150 calories. Like that's so easy to do instead of the ice cream, which is like like so much. And maybe it's time I actually do find an alternative for it. And it's possible, like, because everything is just about doing it. And I think for the longest time I've been avoiding that crossroad because it's just not as fun to eat, popcorn because I don't like how it gets stuck in my teeth, or eat oat
Mm-hmm.
chip because it tastes like gas or something. yeah. But, but honestly, if I'm being like honest, like a chip doesn't really have that much flavor to me, besides like the occasional hot Cheeto and Takis, which I'm saying right now, I'm quitting those. So that means that like
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at potato chips and like a corn tortilla chip. And
Mm-hmm.
those don't really taste like anything. So what's really drawn me to those?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I think you might be right.
Old habit.
Yeah. And
It's
it's just
familiar.
like it's like an oral fixation that I can honestly cut out.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I never really thought about it because like just the other day when I had that sandwich, I had like these deli chips that weren't even that good. They were just like there.
Yeah.
I guess I never really thought about it, but yeah, I probably should. I should maybe quit those if all it is just like extra, you know?
Yeah. Definitely. I would consider it. It doesn't sound worth it. It doesn't sound like a net positive. It sounds like a topping, but it's something that you can't help. And I understand that people around you, they want JR to be happy. They want JR to have the occasional chips. A normal person should have the occasional chips, but we didn't have a normal childhood, and we haven't had a normal adulthood, and it's a struggle, and it's not supposed to be this hard. And I think it's hard because of our old wiring. So like our neurons are so unbreakably connected. The chains of our neurons of like when it comes to the crunch, when it comes to the Dorito, like that alone, like it becomes pornography. It becomes a drug, and it's an addiction that doesn't serve you. And you know that's what I believe, man. Like, everybody has their own thing. Like for some people it might be chocolate chips. For some people it might be soda. For you it's chips. And I had no idea that one hot Cheetos bag could be up to 700 calories. Like, I'll just stay away. I'll just stay away.
100 calories, and it's not even like a particularly big bag. It's just like
Yeah, I
I
know
was
what you're
looking at,
talking about.
and it was just like like Takis and hot Cheetos, which are my two favorite, are so just high in calories that I probably should avoid them. And honestly, like a potato chip and a corn chip isn't as high, but it's not as good. If it's just like a gateway drug to the hot Cheeto,
Hmm.
then yeah, I'd step away and just eat popcorn or something.
I think that's
or
best, man.
I guess yeah. I
So
think
how do you feel about this conversation? Do you feel like you hit all your spots?
yeah, I guess so. I guess the one spot I wasn't expecting was just like me maybe giving up chips
Well,
for some
I
reason.
just want to make sure I did right by you. I had a bunch of stuff on my list, real dark shit to get into, but I don't want to get into it just to get into it. Maybe I'll save it for some other time where it's more organic and it comes up. But like I have had dark, like Dirk Diggler trying to get hard in a truck. Not that dark, but like it feels that dark. Like these moments of like I'm in a park by myself eating a birthday cake by myself. Like these moments of like, how the fuck did I get here? And
I've been there.
what's terrible is like the next day is when you really feel it. And so the next day you feel bad, so you need to pick me up. So then you do something that makes you feel good in the moment, but then it makes you feel bad. That becomes a week, that becomes a month, that becomes a year.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
so
like,
that's
and if
just
you ever get on, if you ever get in a slump and it becomes too much, like for me, like I was always really embarrassed to bring my food back home because I knew my brother would see it, I knew my parents would see it. So I would eat food in my car just to avoid the embarrassment of people seeing how much I was eating. I get that.
that's real talk, man. That's fucking real, dude. Like nobody wants to go there. It's too painful. It's embarrassing. I know, but it's also real life. Like I still struggle with that to this day. I dude, I had 2 tacos for 1 taco this morning. Like, and so a part of me wants to be like, I will start tomorrow, you know, but it's like I have to start now. I have to start now. I have to take that L and be like, look, it's fucking I can burn that off. I can burn that off and it'll be like it didn't happen. That's just the truth. But I really need to be fucking dude, because when I'm committed, there's nothing else. Like I'm not the funnest guy to be around during that time, you know. But it's not forever, and then you get into that groove, and then you're who you really are, and then you're more fun to be around. But this is during quarantine. I'm not around anybody right now, so I
Yeah.
I need
For
to
me,
I need to make that change and flip the switch.
for me, I totally understand that because right now I feel like I'm such a bore, and I think it's just because I'm constantly thinking of like cool meals I can make or something that are like or like projecting the end calories because like I'm also at the point where like I don't want to eat too little, you know.
Hmm.
It's like there's a whole other side effect to that. So I do feel like sometimes I'm just like super like laser focused, and I think part of that is my ADD or my ADHD where I just kind of get like oh I just start thinking way too much, and I can tell I'm boring. But like you said, it's only a limited time, and it usually like lasts for like only like a couple of weeks, and then you kind of get in the groove of like of what to eat and what to do and all. But yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. Because like I think both me and you have that mindset of we can do whatever. And I think our big weakness, truth be told, is just like we think the finish line is the finish line when maybe there is no finish line until it's over. You get what I mean? Like like we always have to be thinking about the food we're eating and the choices we make. Because
Yeah.
if we don't, it's so easy to slip. Like both me and you have talked about how much weight we can gain in such a short amount of time.
Yep.
And it's just because like I have these habits that are ingrained in me, what I'm supposed to eat, which is not the case at all. You know, and like I have to break that habit, but man, it's like over 20 years of habit, you know?
Hmm.
And it's just like and that's where like I think this counting calorie thing, like I can't think of it as like a goal, like a way to help me get to my goal weight. It's a way for me to always be accountable for what I am eating, you know. And sure, I can cut out food, like, and that's why like I'm a little bit disagreeing with you. Like I do think, obviously, I should and I could cut out chips, but I also know that it's very possible that I just find a new crutch. You know what I mean? Of like something else that's really good that I eat too much of, and that's where like it becomes where like you have to keep yourself accountable even if you get to that end goal because we've both been at weights or we've been sort of happy and we can just gain it back. So like even we're at that weight where we feel comfortable, we also have to realize that that doesn't give us the license to like overeat just because we cut out this, that, and that, you know?
Can you
Because it's possible
control?
to gain
Can you
weight.
control? Like, say you go to a party, and it's like, wow, look, an assortment of chips. I can have all the chips I want. Are you like jackpot, or can you be like, I will not have any chips tonight, or I
Well,
will only have a few chips tonight? Can you police your portion control there
to be
when it,
honest,
when it comes to
and
chips?
this is something else, but if I was at a party and there was that many chips, I'm such a germaphobe that I just can't eat the chips just for that
Oh,
reason.
but I mean like bags. Say bags, like all the Thaki
Okay, yeah.
bags.
Yeah, if they had like in certain bags, I probably would go crazy. but
So
but I've
that
never
right there. So when you say that, because you had said something, and I was like, that's junkie talk, and it's interesting to me that you can't hear it. I'm not doing a bit. Like you had said
Yeah.
something, you're like, I could quit chips if I wanted to, but, and I'm like, no, 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 no. That's an alcoholic saying, I could have the occasional six pack during a Dallas Cowboys game. And it's like, no, you can't. No, you can't. You're going to wake up the next day and be like, how did I get here? For
Yeah.
real, like for true people that have a problem. Like I remember I went like 30 days no sugar, which is very hard, very, very hard. And then that's when all the temptations come in, dude. And then your senses go up. You can smell things you couldn't smell before. You could smell sugar all of a sudden when you couldn't before. And people will be
Yeah.
like, "Here,
No.
would you like a bite-sized mini Snickers?" And I remember just thinking like, "No." And then being so proud of myself, like, I did it. I said no. Like, how hard that is. That's when you're fucking addicted. I think for guys like you and me, guys like us, I think it's different, man. Like, we're not, we can't pretend and delude ourselves into thinking we're going to be functioning normal members of society who have the occasional chips. I don't think that doesn't exist, man. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's just say I am wrong, but consider it just because I know for me, I can't have one piece of cake and be fine. I'm not even gonna. I've already failed at that 100 times. That's what Einstein calls insanity.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you actually did hit like a wall with me where it's like not a wall whatever, like you broke like a glass ceiling for me, because like now I do know that chips for me is just kind of like a comfort thing, and like I don't really truly need it, and then that way I can quit it, and like I feel comfortable quitting it. But the other thing, reason why it's dangerous, I think, to like just quit foods is that if it ever confronts to us again, I don't want that to be a reason why we actually relapse, because I don't care how big your meal is. One meal isn't going to kill you if you can get back on track. So just because, like, let's say one day, like, I quit chips for like years, right? And then, like, randomly, just fucking the hot Cheeto bag. I don't want that hot Cheeto bag to be the reason why I fucking I'm sorry, like, fucking buying these Tostitos and stuff
Oh
like that.
my
So
god.
my mindset, I have to know that I can't let something have that much control over me. If
I
that
hear what
makes
you're saying. On the flip side, if it hasn't worked for you thus far in your
and I
27 years, isn't that a sign?
and I agree, and that's why I feel comfortable telling you that I really truly want to quit it, but I also like I just know that like this idea of like I giving something that much power over you is not healthy, and like I want to get to the point where like I don't want a chip just because I don't want a chip. It's like that with me for Coke, like I can drink Coke and be like, fine, like I drink it, and it's like whatever, but it's like if you would have done that to like 10-year-old Jerry, you would be like, what? Oh, like or 18-year-old Jerry with like ice cream, something like that. And it's just like I want to get to that point of chips where it doesn't have the power over me to like fuck up my my whole fucking like routine, And I think and it's possible. At least I think for me it's possible. Maybe I'm wrong.
It
But
sounds
like
like it sounds like you're in an entanglement with chips.
entanglement, and I agree, and that's why like I do want to quit it, but I also on the flip side, for this is like advice to you. I want you to like know that like no one food should have that much power over you, and I applaud you for wanting to quit sugar, but I also don't want it to like just be like a reason for you to like relapse when you get back into it. You know what I mean? Or like not back into it, but like let's just say randomly happens, like you fall into a piece of cake, you know?
No, I don't agree with this at all. I don't agree with this. Like, I sound like a broken record, but it sounds like, imagine telling a junkie, dude, like, here's the thing. Do you see yourself going through life with no heroin at all? Like, think about that. Like, JR, do you really want to go without one bump of Coke? I mean, you should be able to do the occasional line of Coke and not go back to being a Coke fiend. And that's what I'm hearing. Like, I'm not playing. Like, I cannot hear it any other way. Like, you're telling an alcoholic, dude, just have one beer. That's what you're saying. To me.
Yeah.
To me. Not, I think, like, what you're saying could apply. Like, I think you're an idealist in a way. Like, what you're saying is optimistic. And I understand exactly what you're saying. It's not misunderstood, like, hey, if you do have one Twix, don't throw your life away. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, for sure, it might happen. But I also know that the shame, the pain, it's like a streak. Like, I don't want to let the streak down. But I also know it's not healthy to to be like the streak, the streak, the streak. Of course, it's not healthy, but I think like for me, I can't have a healthy relationship with food. Like I can't, not until I completely rehabilitate. Like, you know, Amy Winehouse died because she went through alcohol withdrawals, and so now, you know, they'll give people like they have to wean off of it. Like, I can't wean off of it. I can't. I've tried it. Like I have to. For me, it's a cold turkey thing. I have to
Yeah.
go 10 days new sugar. It's a new brain. It's a new relationship with my cognition, and it's a wonderful feeling. And then there is no occasional Hershey's Kiss because it goes back, and that's just the consistency I've lived with for 32 years. And I think that could be a genetic thing. I think it's my neurons. You know, they're linked in a certain way that like. Think about like all the times, JR, that you've had chips in the car by yourself because you didn't want people to know. That shame is associated to the chips as much as the pleasure of a comfort food is associated to the chips. And so when you're at some party a year down the line, you're like, I'll have a Dorito. The shame is still linked to that. The shame is still linked to that. And to me, that's where it's like, why can't we live in a chip-free world? It's unnatural. Like it's the same thing with birthday cake. Like it's unnatural. Like I would love if one day with my grandchild I have a birthday cake and I'm okay. But I'll tell you this right now from first base, I ain't even. That's not a goal. Like the goal
Yeah,
is to
no,
get clean. You know, for real.
and as I'm talking about this, I've kind of changed my view of like, because like honestly, I feel like I probably could go my whole life without a chip. I guess I just like don't like the idea of like giving something that much power. And chips honestly are kind of easy to quit because something you have to almost like seek out. You get what I mean? Where like sugar, I don't feel like it's sometimes like hidden. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where it's like I kind of just I think you should like avoid like processed sugar and things that are obviously sugared, like those like freaking like liquid juices or whatever, or like any number of things. But I also think not every sugar is the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You
of
get what I
course,
mean?
there's sugar in a grapefruit, in a cantaloupe, and watermelon. You know that I think is good, but I'm talking about Kit Kat bars. I'm talking about Big Red. I'm talking about root beer. I'm talking about whipped cream. I'm talking about putting sugar in your coffee, which I don't do. I've never done that, and I despise people that do. Sorry if you're one of them, but I'm talking about like licorice, like you know all
Okay.
these little things that like when Halloween comes around, and also for me raising kids, like here's the thing, like
Yeah, I can't even
in their
imagine.
little Lunchables they have Oreos. That to me is like contraband. Like I don't even want to have an Oreo in my house. I don't want to have a Pop Tart, you know, and so on. So you'd be surprised. You go into a gas station, it's just sugar. The whole fucking place is sugar. Like everything's sugar. Everything is sugar. You know,
Yeah,
there's sugar in your bread. You know, so it's like wow.
especially the white breads. Yeah,
Absolutely. And so that's kind of what I mean. Like, you know, and also being Mexican American, like, you know, there's sugar in your tortillas for crying out loud and tamales and like there's just so much unhealthy shit for sure. Ketchup. Ketchup has sugar. Ketchup
no,
affects me. I can't have ketchup, you know, and so on. So that's kind of what I mean is like the processed, unhealthy packaging of sugar and so on. Like, and this is why, like, I texted you so early in the morning. I felt bad, but you responded so quickly, so I thought, I guess it was okay. But like, it was the
I was
junk.
out
The,
for my
the
walk.
junkie in me was like, dude, oh, good for you. The junkie in me was like, dude, what do you think about Gatorade? Because for me, well, then I buy a 12 pack of Gatorade. I drink 3 a day, and it's just like I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't. So it's like I can't have any. You know.
I'm glad you talking a bit about this for me because like for whatever reason like since I got past the point where like I found out that like how much calories are in sugary drinks, I kind of like just learned how to avoid it. Like occasionally I do get a Gatorade if like after ACL one year I remember I had a Gatorade. Like I didn't like totally control over it, but like sometimes I am that way with chips, and that's why I've gotten into this like new rule which I'm adjusting now. Where I don't want to buy it anymore because like sometimes at late at night I want a snack. I fucking make nachos. Like, ugh, like why do I do that? But I did it, and I do it constantly. Like there's a part of me goodbye to that era, and like, but I also freaking know that like my brother makes a really good salsa, and I'm gonna want to try that one day. And it's just like, in I don't know, like, but like
Does
hearing
he
the way
put
you talk
sugar
about
in the
sugar.
sauce? Oh, you mean with the chips? That's what you mean, right?
Yeah, yeah, with the chips. Like, obviously, like, I guess
Dude,
I could eat it with just a spoon, but that's
for
just
me, man, like we shouldn't. I don't know. Here's the two sides. Number one is
yeah,
it should be okay. It should be okay. But then the other side of the angle is if these are the conversations we're having, it's not for us.
yeah, for sure. But like,
I should be able to cheat on my wife when I'm out of the zip code. Dude, if I'm in a different country, it doesn't count. Well, if she
no, for
kind of looks like her, it should be okay. That's what I feel like. That's what we're doing here. I know I'm
oh,
being a little funny, but I mean
no,
it.
no. I guess for me, like, there's like a balance.
We've talked about for an hour about chips, but I'm okay with that.
No, it's fine. Well, I thought we were like kind of done recording, to be honest. I don't know.
Oh no, I'm still recording, brother. I'm still
Oh,
recording.
okay, because you had said like, did we hit every beat? No, for me, like now I'm more so talking about giving something so much power. See, because like I've kind of come to this like um this thing of like I don't want anything to have that much power over me. Like, so the only time I guess I maybe would have been considered like much of a drinker was like 2013, 2014, I forget. But one of those years, right? Like I was drinking like a lot. And I realized it, I kind of stopped, and now I can have the occasional drink. And I feel like sometimes I have this like really good willpower. And I've never like actually confronted myself with chips. Like, because like for me, like when I lost a bunch of weight in 2015,
Yeah.
it was everything else, you know?
Uh huh.
And then now I'm looking at it, like I feel like I could be wrong. I could listen to this later and be like, oh, I was so wrong about that. But I feel like I could actually just like put it and like have the occasional one like every once in a while. But who knows? Like I don't know until like I'm confronted with that. But
Right.
the reason why like I gain weight so quickly is just because I binge eat so much.
Yeah.
So like I need to cut that out. But I don't binge eat like
That's the
honestly
problem.
on
You're
chips
right.
that
That's
much.
absolutely the problem. That's the
I
problem
don't.
is the portion control. That's why I asked. And you said at the party scenario, you go a little nuts, right? So here's what you should do just for the good old exercise. And know that if you tell yourself these terms in the beginning, just know that you might not go inside a shame cycle. But you should go 1 year without chips. And then when it comes up organically, if you're like, it's the day of, I need chips, there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
But if it comes up
Mhm.
organically after a year, what if you're just like, not for me? Great. That's your volition. It doesn't have power over you. But if you're like, let me give it a shot, you have chips and you're like, oh my God, this is like Homer Simpson with a beer. Well, then and just be honest with yourself. But you do
Yeah.
need to kind of separate, get out of the entanglement, give it some
Yeah.
time, and
No,
then see
for
how
sure.
you feel. Like I would argue, like I asked one of my, I won't say who, someone very close to me who's trying to quit alcohol, and he's like, I can go 2 weeks without alcohol before getting. He's like, I don't. He's like, I think I have like a willpower, a tolerance where like I don't get the withdrawal pangs. And I'm like, what's the longest you've ever gone without drinking? He's been drinking for 15 years, and he's like, 2 weeks. And I'm like, dude, you haven't gone 30 days. You haven't gone 6 weeks. You don't know when the withdrawal pangs would hit you. So that's why. And if you've only gone 2 weeks, you're not hearing yourself. You think he has no control over you. You think 2 weeks is a fucking victory? You don't get a trophy for 2 weeks. Like
Yeah,
that
no,
is
not
not
at all.
normal, right? So I would ask you, how long have you gone without chips consciously before in your life?
Well, see, but that's the thing is like until recently, I feel like I've never even thought about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Ah.
it's like for me, my big thing at one time
But
was like,
when you're in weight loss mode, surely it's on top of mind, right?
that's where it's it's a little weird because like the times I've lost a bunch of weight, like the only time I really probably quit chips was 2011 when I dropped a bunch of weight, right? Or 2010, I mean. But 2015 when I dropped a bunch of weight, like I wasn't really conscious of like the chips. Like for me, like 2015, it was more so about quitting my milkshakes, my binge eating, which was like Pluckers, Thai food, stuff like that. Like because I remember sometimes I would do this like really disgusting thing, like going to this one part of Austin that was near my place, and I would go to get some frozen yogurt and then get some Thai food, right? And Thai food is like 1,400 calories or something, and I would have an appetizer with it. Like for me, like that at that time was my main focus of cutting out those crazy binge eating habits. And like those things weren't connected to chips. You know what I mean? Like for me, like I only eat chips when I eat a sandwich which I considered at the time like a healthy meal, which maybe now I don't because of the bread and the chips. but in 2015 I did. So I wasn't really on top of it then. And then when I lost a bit of weight in 2018, 2019, again, that was just more so like, because at lunch I would eat either pizza or something, and I switched that out instead for salads at Whole Foods. And that's the only thing I changed. Then I dropped a bunch of weight. So until like somewhat recently, I never really confronted with the idea. And maybe I'd be wrong, but like I feel like I agree with you that I probably should just quit it for like a year or something and see how I feel after that, and see if it really does have this like huge like shadow over me, or if it's just like something like everything else I've kind of quasi quit in my life, or it's just like it's something that I just assumed was okay for me until it wasn't anymore. I think I've gotten to that point of
Could
chips in my life where
could you
I can
eat a
say it's not
sandwich?
okay.
Could you eat sandwiches without having chips? Or are you like, why even bother with the sandwich then?
Yeah, I'm more like why even bother? Because to me,
So
I
that's
don't even like the
that.
sandwich. Like,
See, that's the thing. The chips have way more power than you think.
yeah, but see, but like I also know that a sandwich for me isn't like necessarily the most healthy option, so I probably should just cut that out too. You know, like
Yeah,
I'm at the point now where like
true.
I'm almost 30, and I probably should cut out as much as any unnecessary bread. You know what I mean?
Of course, I agree with that.
And as I've gotten older, I felt like I've gotten into these like healthier habits, which is why I haven't ballooned as much as I used to. But it's also like I need to develop more healthy habits. You know, like I've gotten as far as I could without drinking the sugary drinks, without um going fucking crazy at Pluckers or whatever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, now the next step is to maybe cut out the sandwiches, because like to me it's kind of a twofold thing, because it's such an easy meal to make, but it's also like gives me an excuse to like fucking go Tabasco wild on chips. And and I think I'm at this point now during this conversation where like I know I probably should give that up, because that's probably the last actual vice of my eating habits that have been ingrained in me since I was a kid. You know, I've
Mm-hmm.
quit the sugary drinks. I've quit. I mean, honestly, binge eating is also still a part of me. Like I don't do it like as much as I did in my fucking like demon days, but like occasionally I did.
Yeah.
New York, I do have those like those dark times where I'm just like I need to fucking go hard on something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess if there's one thing I do want to get rid of, it's like this binge eating part. But every weight loss thing I've read, or any person that lost a lot of weight, they all struggle with it. That's
Yep.
why I know occasionally I'm gonna relapse with it. And I think I've gotten better over the years of like being like very thoughtful about it, and being like it doesn't have to like mean the end of anything, you know?
That is
Like
true. That is true. I think you're right on paper. I feel like I went through that and it wasn't successful for me. Like
yeah,
the occasional relapse, just fucking forgive yourself. Like for me, yeah, but
like
I can't get my momentum back. And also it goes back in tandem with like my relapses are devastating. It's buying a 20 piece, buying a chocolate fudge sundae, dipping the 20 piece in the sundae, being like, that's delicious. I go back to work. I have a fucking Monster energy drink. I get a big ass Twix. And then when I get home, I'm like, it's Whataburger time. Like that is a fucking relapse to me. And I'm not saying I commit to the relapse, but just like, and dude, and then I go to bed thinking, what the fuck just happened? Like Michael Fassbender in Shame. It's like, how did I
yeah,
find myself sucking a dick right now? How did that
yeah.
happen? You know, and
No,
that's true addiction for me. For me, it's an addiction, and it's terrible, man. You know, and so for you, like the occasional relapse, if you can forgive yourself in real time, I would say that's healthy. Like do that. Like if you can do that, that's healthy. You know, and be like, it's not a relapse. It's just my new lifestyle. For me, been there, done that. It didn't work for me. Like
yeah,
it does not work for me.
and in saying all this, like it's all very possible that it won't work for me. And I think we're both in this agreement where like, because I actually do agree with what you said. Like it's like I wish I could like just live my life until until I die. Like, you know, eating like the healthiest choices, and just like being super duper like committed to it. You know what I mean? Like making blank blank or whatever. You know, and but the problem with that mindset for me is just like I don't know, like you just like it's harder, it's easier said than done. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I've learned,
Absolutely.
like watching these like weight loss like journeys on YouTube that people go through. It's just like every single one of them always talk about like when they fall for a little bit or when they hit that plateau and they really hate themselves.
Yep.
And for me, it's just more about I'm trying to like hit this point or like I want to have a healthy relationship with food, and maybe it will never come.
You
But
should seriously talk to a therapist that specializes in that, because I
yeah,
think they can give you advice I could never give you. I listened to
no,
a
and
podcast about it, and it's really, really, really two podcasts. This is how fucking embedded I'm in about it. One's for overeating, which supposedly has like the cure for it, and I get very jaded and cynical about that there's a cure for it. But and then there's one about eating disorders in general. And I listen to these podcasts still to this day, and they help. It's something, but it's not like an AA when you have a sponsor that you can call when you're like, dude, I'm at I'm at Krispy Kreme. I need help. Pull me out of here. And you just have the guy that you're calling saying, hey, drive home. Drive home right now. FaceTime me. Show me. Are you home? Where are you? Like, for me, it's there. It's at that level, man. You know? And so I think you need the proper tools and education if you want to have that healthy thing right now. For me, I know, like, I can't even have that conversation unless I'm sober, and I'm not. Like, yesterday, I had Burger King, and I had something unhealthy I can't recall. And the day before that, I had a Dr. Pepper, and I hold on to that, and I'm like, "What the fuck's going on here, Knives? What are you doing, man? What the fuck are you doing?" You know, today
yeah,
I had two bacon and egg tacos from one taco. What the fuck are you doing, Knives? You know, it's autopilot for me, and so I need to get
yeah,
like 10, 15 days fucking sober. Yeah, it shows on the scale. That's great. But like what it does to my brain is all of a
it does.
sudden I don't want a Twix. I don't want Doritos. I'm not even craving it. I don't even want cake. It doesn't even hurt to say no after you break that cycle. But like and the only way to break that cycle is to go fucking what do you call it? Cold turkey. That's the only way to break the cycle. And it truly transforms my brain. Like this is just I can only speak for me. So, but I think if you really want to give that a shot and be healthy, I can't even entertain that unless I'm sober, you know, and I'm not right now. So,
Yeah, and I guess we're both in two different
levels,
parts because like for me, I'm like
steps.
in the middle of like of dieting and exercise right now, right? Like I've been committed to it for like 2.5 weeks, exercising for a little bit longer. 'Cause like I said, I exercised first for the first time, and in I guess like I don't know, like to me, like it's like not necessarily hard for me to quit food when I want to, and that's why I'm excited to see what happens now that I made the commitment to like chips, because I think I can actually do it. But it's like I've done it with other things. But
But done it for how long though?
I mean, for sugary drinks, I would say,
Well,
like,
no, 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 for chips.
oh, for chips. So, well, again, like I don't know, I had chips once this week, right? And that was the one time I had it, and but now like it's like to me, like I didn't really consider it an issue until this podcast. Like I knew I had like issues with it, but like it's also just like it connected it with my binge eating
Mm-hmm.
versus
Yeah, I
connecting
know.
it with my chip consumption or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Like like now that I've kind of like realigned my view of it, I'm excited to see where like it lands. Is like who knows, but
Same.
I feel like pretty comfortable in saying right now in this moment that I know I can kind of like quit it. But I mean, who knows? Like
L-
I maybe you be my AA person who's like, no,
Yeah,
I will
I
get
mean, I'd
messy.
love to be that person. Let's follow up in 1 month, August 15th.
Yeah.
Just remember 815, 815, like lost numbers. That's on a Saturday. Let's follow up and see where we're at. How much do you
Okay.
weigh right now?
Right now, weighed myself this morning 244.
That's good. So right now, conservatively, like my average, I'm probably 265 right now. Not proud of
Okay.
that. I was like 267. Like I gained this weight, and it's like motherfucker, just like 2 days ago. So I'll say 265. I'm 265. You're how much again?
244.
I'm not trying to like just start a race, dude. It's not like that. But let's
Yeah.
just see
No,
where we're
yeah,
at.
it's
Hold each
definitely
other
not like
accountable in a month, and just see where our brains are at in a month, and our energy, and like how it's affected our lifestyle or whatever. I'm very curious about the follow up. I think that'll help tremendously.
for sure.
Cool, man. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this podcast here. We hit about 2 hours 5 minutes. Very proud of what we were able to talk about. It was not easy, and so for anybody listening, if you made it this far, let me know. It would mean the world to me. I appreciate that. Share this with someone that you think is on the precipice of where JR and I are at, and give JR some feedback too, man. Where can they find you on the internet and say what's up?
Oh, I think on Instagram and Twitter I have the same handle, which is Juan Royale Molina. Me there?
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Juan Roel Molina on Instagram and on Twitter. Was that right?
Mm-hmm. And
Okay,
then
cool.
yeah, for sure.
That's perfect. Reach out to them and say that you made it this far. I mean, come on, man. People can't even watch a 5 minute video, a 45-second TikTok, but if they made it through a 2 hour podcast, that's tremendous. So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and we're gonna follow up on 8:15 and see where we're at.
All right, man, and thank you for being so open about this stuff because I feel like I always want to be open with it, and like no one wants to go there, but fortunately you're always there. So I'm glad.
Definitely, that's what I'm here for, man. I try. Like I don't have the. I've gotten really good at like. A sensor will go off in my brain. Should I say this? Maybe I shouldn't say this. And I've gotten a lot better about that in the right settings. But on the podcast, it's my world. You know, I feel like I can go there. So same thing with you, man. I appreciate you. Tell Laura I said hey, and just have fun and stay safe in New York, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Love you, man.